Alright, I want to give my response to all the accusations and all the bad talk about Brock Lesnar. It's amazing, so amazing that there's so much guff and so much bad publicity for Brock Lesnar for, to me, honestly, some timid words he had to say at the end of his fight. I mean, everyone's making a big deal out of it, but you know what? Come on, it's Brock Lesnar, alright? He's going to be the bad boy of the sport, and everyone needs a bad boy. And of all things, UFC is far from being a goody two-shoe, wholesome family event, okay? You got two big-ass brooding men sweating, pulsing with veins, pounding on each other for 3 to 5 rounds in a 8-sided cage, and then you expect, Brock Lesnar to be all like, okay, if Chuck Liddell would have done that, okay, people would have been cheering and drinking Coors Light by the kegs, okay? But because it's former WWE wrestler Brock Lesnar, and of course a lot of UFC fans hate wrestling, a lot of wrestling fans hate UFC. I happen to be one of the very few that love them both. I respect both WWE and the UFC and enjoy them both and spend a good amount of my money on both of them, okay? So I have a right to say what I want to say, okay? Dana White is like Vince McMahon, whether you like it or not. And whether you want to say, oh, well, Brock Lesnar acting like WWE, well, the press conference after the fight was more like WWE. You know why? Because what Brock Lesnar said after the fight was from the heart. Maybe he doesn't like Bud Light. Maybe he hates Bud Light. Maybe Coors Light does pay him. So why ain't he going to say? He's speaking from the heart. The fans are booing him. He's going to flip him off. That's coming from the heart. It's passion and it's emotion. And he told Frank Mir, because Frank Mir did talk a lot of smack, thinking, oh, well, yeah, I beat him before. No WWE wrestler is going to be the UFC world champion as long as I'm around. Well, look what happened. He got that horseshoe out of his ass and hit him on the head, just like he said at the press conference before that. And no one even said anything about that. But then he says it after the fight, so they're mad. Okay, so Dana White then goes and confronts Brock Lesnar in the bathroom and tells him what to say at the press conference. That's more WWE than after what he said after the fight, okay? Dana White controls everything the fighters say. He controls everything. All the fighters pretty much in the UFC are puppets, and Dana White's up there telling them, you do this or go somewhere else, which there is nowhere else except for Affliction, which Affliction is about to lose their best fighter, of course. To who? Dana White. Because Dana White is the Vince McMahon of mixed martial arts. So whether you like it or not, he's always in the mix, he's always there, he's always speaking, whispering in the fighters' ears, and then the fighters say what he says. Okay, that's more WWE than WWE if you ask me, okay? So you need to realize that. And if you want there to be more wholesome family fun out of these events, okay, it's cage fighting, it's mixed martial arts, okay? You got Harley Davidson and Bud Light as sponsors, which are like the epitome and symbolisms of tough men, yes, Harleys and Bud Light, yeah, okay? Dana White, you want to make it more wholesome and have not this tarnished image, then paint flowers on the 8-sided ring and have Disneyland as a sponsor. Maybe SpongeBob and Patrick as the card holders will add some more family wholesomeness to it, okay? It's cage fighting UFC. You don't have to worry about any of this, Dana White, okay? Because like everyone says, bad publicity is good publicity. If anything, this is going to actually make the buy rates higher, more pay-per-view sales, and people that kind of didn't like UFC because they are wrestling fans, they are now going to become more of a UFC fan because one of their own is now the UFC heavyweight champion. Undisputed. And Frank Mir was the only thing holding, and he whooped on him. And you can't say that Brock Lesnar is not the best heavyweight right now in the UFC. He may not be overall because Fedor's coming, and we'll see when that happens. And don't tell me that's not going to make money too. Dana White, you are in the driver's seat of billions upon billions of dollars. You're just trying to make yourself look good, by being the good guy and Brock being the bad guy. But you know what? It's perfectly fine because Brock being the bad guy is going to bring in way more money than if Brock was the good guy. Okay? So, all of a sudden we have a new bad guy. Chuck Liddell is not the same he used to be. And remember, Chuck Liddell was like the UFC. Dana White actually did bow down to Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell could say whatever he wants. But here comes Brock Lesnar, and he says a few things, and this happens. Okay? Who cares? I love it. I love that he flipped the whole audience. Oh, this WWE, this WWE, this WWE. No, you know what? That's Brock Lesnar. That's Brock Lesnar beating someone's ass and just showing his emotion after. A big deal. Bud Light does suck. It's tasteability. Anyway, that's my opinion. And Brock, Come on. I was more ashamed of you after the fight at the press conference. I'm not biased. I drink any beer. Dana White told me to say all of this. So, you know what? Just stop talking all this about, Brock Lesnar, WWE, that. Dana White is the one scripting all these UFCs. Of course, the fights aren't scripted, but everything before and after the fights is scripted because it's Dana's way or the highway. Go fight at some, 5-sided steel cage at the fairgrounds, pretty much. So a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, he's shocked. He said that, and he said he was going to get on top of his wife." Well, a majority of the people probably were so happy after the UFC fight, they probably were drinking beer and getting on top of their wives too. So leave Brock alone. He's just doing what everyone else is. That's my opinion. Leave Brock alone. He is the best. He earned it. Yes.